Hello and welcome to Coffee and Kale. Today we are talking to Jamal Hampton. He is a home inspector with Sentinel Inspections, and he's the guy that tells you all about your house. So if you are in the market as a buyer or a seller and that sounds interesting, please stay tuned. Welcome to the Coffee and Kale podcast. Here we have an educational approach to everything real estate and finance related. If you're a first-time home buyer, a seasoned investor, or just looking for an understanding, this is the place for you. I'm your host, Nicole, and I'll be your guide on your financial journey. Grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and join us as we grow together. Welcome back to Coffee and Kale. I'm Nicole, and today our guest is Jamal Hampton of Sentinel Inspections.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us.
Happy to be here.
So Sentinel is an inspection company that's been around for 5 years, you said, huh?
Absolutely.
But you've been doing this for 10 or more.
Yes, I have.
And you were at one point a professor of home inspection. Are you still doing that?
So I'm still an adjunct professor at CSU, College of Southern Maryland.
Okay.
But honestly, with business, we've been a little busy.
Okay,
so
that's
I
good.
haven't had an opportunity to teach as much as I like to, but I think in the next few years I may go back into the field. But right now I'm busy with home inspections.
That's good. Well, that's why we have you here, because we are going to talk all about home inspections today. As a buyer, what you need to look for. As a seller, if you need to get one. And Jamal is going to demystify it all for us. So keep watching. All right. So what types of things do you look for when you go out to do a home inspection? Well, I should back up. When do you get a home inspection? Is it mainly a buyer thing? Do sellers do it? Do homeowners do it? When do you need a home inspection?
So the bulk of our home inspections are with buy and sell. So normally with every buy and sell, you're required to get a home inspection.
Yeah.
So I mainly do it for buyers, but I also do it for savvy homeowners that just want to make sure that they're on top of the maintenance tasks that they need to do throughout the year. So we perform, people that live in the home or potential buyers, or we also offer, air quality testing and environmental testing as well.
Okay. And that goes into my next question. What do you look for? When you go to a home inspection, what are you looking for?
So honestly, the biggest thing with homes is water. So the main thing, normally I write my report like I start the inspection. So when I walk up to a house, I'm looking at drainage. I'm just make sure when it rains or when it's a lot of water, you want to make sure water is flowing away from the foundation like today. Yeah. I had a few inspections this morning. It was a perfect day. It was a perfect day for inspection because you can see how the house holds up to water, water around the foundation. So first I start with that, and then as we move in, we look at the major systems like your HVAC system, your roof covering, your electrical, your plumbing, things of that nature. But those are the major things that I look for. Water, because water is what leads to foundation damage. So your house is sitting on soil. When your soil becomes saturated more saturated on one side than the other, could cause differential settlement, which causes cracks. So water is really what protects you against major significant foundation damage costs. Normally those are your most expensive things.
So you can help me with this. Over the years, I have gotten differing guidance on what is a foundation crack, like a crack in the wall that shows there's a foundation issue, versus a crack in the wall that shows that the house is settling. Is there really a difference between a settlement crack and a crack that tells me you got to do something bigger is happening here?
Normally it's the size or the type of crack. So normally if a crack is wider than a quarter inch per foot, like a quarter inch, like bigger than your cell phone, that's like a major structural crack.
So like this big. If it's bigger than this,
you have
it's a problem.
It's more
really?
An issue.
Okay.
Yeah. So like when they say settling cracks, sometimes it's like shrinkage cracks. So that's like sometimes aging concrete, but those would be like hairline. So those would be non-significant. Also, if you see a horizontal crack, like with older homes, like the masonry block, if the wall is pushing in, those are significant cracks. So wide cracks or horizontal cracks would be the most significant.
The ones that are concerning, who you should call in a professional. Okay, so you said water is probably the biggest challenge with a home. What else? What are the major things? What are the most common things? Not major, most common things you see in home inspections?
The most common are honestly maintenance.
Okay.
So it's just either the homeowner's not savvy enough to do home maintenance tasks themselves, or they, just I guess just don't want to. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's just like for instance, like caulking the ceiling windows. Around your windows, like every 3 to 5 years or so, you have to reseal all the gaps and openings to prevent that air intrusion from coming and ultimately affecting your energy efficiency of your home. So things like that, like not extending downspouts. And downspouts are your protection against precipitation. So water goes down your roof covering into your gutters, down your downspouts and away. Sometimes downspouts terminate too close to the home, and it can add to the moisture around your foundation, which could cause your settlement, leading to cracking. So $15 could be, you could spend $15, install a downspout extension, have that flow away, maybe 6 feet away from the foundation. So simple things. So a lot of times maintenance tasks are relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
But it's when they go unchecked for a long time is when it becomes expensive.
That's a good point. So caulking annually, extending the downspout. What else? What other tips can we give homeowners? We were talking about buyers mainly as home inspection, but what other tips can we give homeowners?
Definitely servicing the HVAC system.
Okay.
That's probably one item I put on every home inspection. It's just having a licensed HVAC contractor evaluate your systems in the summer and the winter. So your cooling and heating systems. Typically, or most times, you have two systems. You have an outdoor unit and indoor unit. So you just want to have someone evaluate those systems as the systems change, because you may go a whole year, without using your heat function, your furnace. So you want to make sure that when you get ready to kick it on, it's going to function properly. And typically, your HVAC systems are your most expensive systems in the house. So I always like to kind of maintenance those like a car.
Okay. Now, do you do it differently if it's gas versus electric?
No, not really. Okay. I still recommend they be serviced
blown out or clear.
Okay. Yep. So there is a difference with gas. So with the gas systems, you have a gas furnace that's producing your heat. Yeah. And then you have an outside condenser that's pulling warm air, converting to cool energy, going inside your system. Both electric, the outside unit is called a heat pump. Okay. So it's going to be pulling warm air, converting to cool energy, or it's going to be pulling cool air, converting to heat into your system. Okay. So that unit is always going to be running year round, your outside unit, versus with gas, the unit can be covered in the winter because it's not running during the winter.
Oh, that's a good tip to know. So on those seller's disclosures that I get in those contracts where it says, do you have a heat pump? The answer should be yes if you have electric heating. Am I hearing that right?
Yep. Electric is heat pump.
Pro tip. Look at that. Yep. Taught me something after all these years. And I can't learn new tricks, huh? Okay. Absolutely. So we're talking a little bit about sellers and owners, how they can maintain the house to have fewer defects. What should a buyer, what kind of questions should a buyer be asking their home inspector when they come to the home inspection evaluating purchase? So
normally the sellers disclose, they may not disclose everything, but they'll disclose something. So they'll normally disclose the things they're proud of. So they'll say it's a brand new water heater.
Floors in my bathroom.
Yeah, all the cool stuff. Recently replaced roof in the last 5 years and things like that. I would always recommend my clients to ask for documentation. If they have a recent roof replacement, normally it comes with some sort of warranty. Okay. So I would ask if there's any warranty documentation. Recently replaced systems, I would see if there's if they've been warranted. This overall, if there's ever any past water intrusion event, like if there was ever like a flood in the basement, I would just ask what was done to fix it, like after to stop it from coming in again. Is it any ongoing maintenance that's going to be needed? Yeah. Because a lot of times people in their home, they may not necessarily know they have major defects or defects at all. They just kind of get used to living with certain things. So I would just find out the things that you're used to living with that just may not be quite right, that I may need to look into a little bit more. Because a lot of times they know. Yeah, a lot of times the sellers know. That's
a good point for a seller too. When you're ready to put your house on the market, have a home inspector come look at it, because it could be something you're just accustomed to living with. Actually, as I'm sitting here, the fan in my break room doesn't work, but I'm just been accustomed to living with it. But a home inspector could tell you, hey, if somebody's going to buy it,
they may want it to work.
Yeah. So on average, how much does a home inspection cost? I shouldn't say how much does it cost. Do you price it per square foot? Like, what should a seller or buyer anticipate paying for your services when they come in?
So for a condo inspection, it's $350. Okay. $350, $375, around that area. But yes, for normally the residential homes and townhomes, they're based on square footage.
Got it.
So it typically starts at $475. And that's below 2,500 square feet, and at every 500 square foot, it goes up $50. So it kind of goes up as the house becomes a little larger, and that's just because it takes a little longer, and we have to check a few extra things when it's a little larger.
And I should say, if you find this later in life out there on the
It
internet,
may be a little
we are
more.
Recording this in late 2023, so and inflation is all the rage right now, but that gives people a ballpark of what to prepare for.
Absolutely.
What's the difference, the biggest difference between a home inspection and an appraisal?
So we're completely different, and I think sometimes my clients, especially, they sometimes forget or don't know like our roles.
Yeah.
So we're looking for structural integrity of the home. Make sure all your components are functioning properly, and there's not going to be any major expenses as far as repair costs inside your home. Appraisers are looking at your value. So they're looking at, they're doing a comparison between your house and your neighbor's house and other houses in the area to see how much the house will be worth. So we're not necessarily saying what the house is worth. We're just saying what needs to be done to make sure it's gonna last as long as it should. There's not gonna be any major expenses.
Now, is there some overlap though? Like a home inspector will come in and turn on the water and turn on the heat and kind of stress test the house. Do appraisers do the same thing?
To an extent, but I think it's to a lesser degree. So they're not going as intrusive, I guess you would say, as we are. They're kind of just make sure that things work and there's not any blatant issues. So they'll look for safety items as well sometimes. Yeah. So they'll look at a deck, and if the deck is in poor shape, they may say it need to be removed or replaced and things like that. But it's just it's different. We're a little different.
Yeah. What else? What else haven't I asked? What haven't we broached that people should be aware of when they are getting a home inspection, shopping for a home inspector, expecting after the home inspection is over? What should be on people's radar?
I would definitely be mindful as we're going into the winter season. Air quality, or just overall, just making sure that when you're moving into a new environment, that the environment is not making you sick. Because a lot of times we spend the majority of our lives inside our home. So when people become sick, it's sometimes because our home is making us sick. So it's really important to do maintenance tasks or at least have it evaluated.
What kinds of things do you have to evaluate to determine if the
So I would see if you have a basement, for sure. I would check around your rear entry door. I would see if there's any areas that you can see water stains. I would check your baseboards to see if there's any stains. Sometimes when baseboards have a lot of stains, that could be an indication that behind the baseboard, the drywall could be actually mold. So it's just making sure that you're not allowing things to fester for longer than they should. Like small leaks always become big problems. Like it could be slow leaks that's been leaking for years and you just never notice. And when you open up, remove a cabinet, you see a whole bunch of mold growth. So that's going to be very important, just to make sure that what you're breathing is not harming you. Outside of that, radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer, and it's present in all homes in various quantities. The only way to find out your levels is to have it tested. So now, like on Amazon, they have portable radon monitors that you can plug into your home, and you can have it constantly monitored. We always recommend at least one professional measurement. So you can see an average for 2 days to see if there's any fluctuations. On average, radon is higher in the winter because radon is a gas that comes out of the ground. And as we're heating our homes, that causes, as the warm air is rising to the top, that's pulling the gases underneath the house up into the house. So that increases the radon levels normally. So it's always good to do a radon test in the winter. If you have an older home, I would think about asbestos. Asbestos is a carcinogen as well that causes cancer. So those are things I would just kind of, for the people that already live in their home, I would just kind of be mindful of those. Because sometimes those could be making you sick.
So I've heard maintenance your systems. Do maybe a biannual radon test just to be sure.
Yeah. Well, not really biannual. So every 2 years.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
And then what about, my father-in-law has thing they come and like blow out the ducts every so often.
Yeah.
Something else that should be on folks' radars to keep their house like
a duct cleaning. A duct cleaning for sure.
Okay.
Normally recommend duct cleaning every 2 years.
Okay.
Definitely, if you're moving into a newer environment, I recommend a duct cleaning. Filter changing is also very important. So if you have bad filter maintenance, like if you don't change it often than you should, then you're gonna have to clean your ducts more often. Because your filter is ultimately keeping your ducts clean, but if it's really dirty, it's not gonna stop much. So if you think about your filter, you could think about like your nose. Like if your nose is stuffy, you don't breathe well. If your filters are clogged, your system doesn't breathe well. That can affect the overall efficiency of your system and actually shorten the life expectancy of it. So small things like changing filters is extremely important.
Change your filters, extend your downspouts. Those are pretty inexpensive things you can do to keep the house healthy.
Absolutely.
Over the lifetime of its ownership.
Yeah. Same with caulking also in your bathrooms.
Yeah.
If you have
I hate caulking.
I know.
I do, but I understand it's necessary.
It is, especially like if you have a tub and right beside your tub you have like a tile floor and there's a gap in the middle. That's what you don't want, because every time you get in and out of the shower, water's seeping in that crack, and sometimes people will see water stains like in the main level, and they'll think it's a plumbing leak, and it's not. It could just be
simple caulking, just
to
be
your caulk.
So we've got a $15 downspout extension, a maybe $2 filter, plus or minus?
Yeah.
And what's a tube of caulking cost?
Not much. About
Under $10?
Yeah, about $10.
So we're at about $25 that can save you thousands and thousands if it goes on too long and isn't remediated.
Yeah. I think one more maintenance thing I can think of is the roof covering. So on your roof, you have penetrations. You have things that come out the roof.
Like a satellite or something?
Or like, well, not really a satellite. But satellites too, because they have nails that go through the roof covering, so they need to be sealed. But they also have the white pipes that come out the roof. So those are plumbing vent stacks, so sewage gas go up and out. But on the bottom, it's like rubber. It's a rubber flashing boot. And sometimes that rubber ages and cracks will develop in it and water will seep through. So normally when you have a roof leak, it normally comes from your penetrations, not necessarily the roof surface itself. So the penetration should be sealed like every 3 to 5 years. Also.
And what about, like, I know solar's big now. Are people finding issues with those screws or whatever that are going? I guess any penetration.
It can, but
it's something you should.
My biggest caution, or just to be, make sure you stay on top of, is that once you have solar panels on your roof, once it's time to change your roof, you just want to be mindful that you have to take the solar panels off and change the roof, then put them back on. So typically that's an extra cost, and typically that can be a few thousand. So that's just an additional cost that you may incur. Sometimes if you have Solar City or other programs, they'll pay for it themselves. But again, you just want to make sure that you know what that cost will be once it's time.
Okay. So back to our buyers. I'm going to pivot back to buyers. They come, they have a home inspection. You come in and walk through, you show them how to use the systems that you can figure out, right? It's your first visit to the house too.
Absolutely.
What do they leave with? Do they leave with a report? Do they leave with something similar to what you brought here with you today? Tell me more.
Yep. So during the inspection, we're actually filling out the report as we go. So that's one thing I think we have a competitive advantage on other inspectors is we offer our report within 20 to 30 minutes of our inspection. So once we leave, we'll send a report that have digital pictures and a lot of hyperlinks and like life expectancies and just general knowledge that you can kind of refer back to the report later. So you'll have a report. And we also give a home maintenance guidebook, and it has a lot of a lot of maintenance tasks and like a lot of pictures and diagrams that kind of help you be more familiar with tasks that you may incur as you go. And we're also open to discuss things over the phone. We can talk or text whatever we need, but those are typically very helpful, and I think that's the main thing that we give. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else I haven't touched on? That's really important. That if you knew 10 years ago or 5 years ago, you would have shared it with everybody. Kind of a lesson learned. Anything?
When you approach the process, it's important to know the role of everyone in the process. So I would just say for home inspections in general, we have a scope to follow. And sometimes I think that people have an unrealistic expectation that you pay us $500 and then we're responsible for whatever happens for the life of your house. I think that's a little, unrealistic. But we try to educate as much as we can, and we try to catch as much as we can. So we have tools that allow us to go above and beyond our scope, like a thermal camera to see temperatures in the wall to determine if there's anything that's wet. Some people think it's an X-ray. It's not an X-ray. We can't see completely through, but we can see temperatures in the material that can indicate if it's wet or if there's air leakage and things like that. So I would just make sure that you cover all your bases when you do the home inspection. If you're doing an as-is home inspection, which means the seller is not repairing or replacing anything, I would at least take your home inspection report and send that to a contractor to get a quote. Even if you're not planning on doing everything immediately, you just want to make sure you have the numbers.
That's a good tip.
So you're prepared.
That's a really good tip.
Because sometimes I think when we do a home inspection, we say it's all maintenance stuff and they're small items, but it may be 30 to 40 small items.
Sure.
And those 30 to 40 small items can add up to be an expense.
Sure.
So it's just really making sure you put yourself in the best position to be happy in your home, because you're doing a whole lot of hard work to get there. So you want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up, but not preparing yourself as well as you can to be successful with this process.
So we talked about what to do in the winter. Radon increases in the winter. What should people be aware of in other season changes during spring cleaning, summer to fall? Any other things like radon?
So the only other thing I can think of, I would just be mindful of, is your water heater. So inside your water heater is a rod called a sacrificial anode rod. The water attacks and corrodes.
So that one. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're fine. So it attacks and corrodes the rod before it attacks the tank. So that rod normally wears out after 3 to 5 years, and the tank wears out about 5 years after that. So normally they recommend every 2 years or so you drain I'll say every year. Okay. I recommend every year you drain your water heater, and not the full water heater, but at least a quarter of it. And that's because the rod that's deteriorating, all that sediment that's falling to the bottom of the tank, you want to drain that out. So sometimes it can contaminate your water quality. So that's another task I would do. Winterizing your water hose, your hose bibs as well. Okay. So your outside spigots that you hook a hose up to, normally you want to turn those on outside so the water's flowing. And there will be normally a shut off inside to shut the water off to the pipe. So once you have the water flowing, you shut off inside, and that stops water from going in the pipe, and that prevents it from freezing. So that's another annual thing that you'll do. Cleaning your gutters. If you have a lot of trees around your house, you want to make sure your gutters are clean, because if their gutters are clogged, that's going to cause water to overshoot and build up around your foundation, and it's going to go back to our foundation crack situation.
All these things. I'm going to start an email campaign. It's the spring, do this. It's the winter, do this. So if you're on my email list, know that you will probably start to get those. All right, parting question. The name of this podcast is Coffee and Kale, because those are the two things that keep me going. Coffee at some point in the day and kale at another. Right. What about you? 2, 3, a couple things that keep you going.
I am a big water guy, so that's pretty much all I drink is water throughout the day. I love fruit. Let's see, but I don't have a specific thing that's every day. I don't drink coffee.
Oh my gosh, why? How do you function?
I don't know. I love the mornings. I'm a morning person. I wake up. I'm excited. I'm ready.
Seize the day.
I love mornings. So I don't need help with that at all.
Okay.
I'm working on Kale.
It's a hard start.
It's really a strong taste, but I'm working on my health. I'm working on eating better. I think that's the only thing that I'm not doing very well is I order out way too much. So
we all can do better.
So I can do better. So I do a little better.
Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here.
If you guys are in need of a home inspector, you're in the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, This is your guy, Sentinel Inspections. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And join us next time on Coffee and Kale.